I hara mai rā koe I whea, I hara mai rā koe I te whakaoti nuku I te whakaotirangi. Ko tō manawa e kura ko tōku manawa kairihia whānau. Whānau, hara mai te tōki o haumi e, hui e, tae ki e. This week on The Hui.
MMA is one of the fastest growing sports internationally, and Maori fighters are finding a home in the UFC.
Bantamweight champion!
Far North MMA artist Aaron Toe is looking to be the next in the octagon.
5% will make it to the top.
Plus, we have New Zealand First leader Winston Peters live in studio as he fights to make his way back into Parliament.
Ka tangi te titi mō ngā hua o te moana, ka tangi te kākā mō ngā hua o te whenua, ka tangi ahau mō ngā hua o te mate. Ngā mate o te wā, hara mai haere. Huri tū mai kia tātou ti hewa Māori ora, and welcome back to The Hui. MMA, or mixed martial arts, is growing in popularity in Aotearoa, especially among Māori. Kai Kara France and Dan Hooker are already making a name for themselves in the UFC, and Far North fighter Aaron Toe is on the cusp of joining them. D'Angelo Martin caught up with the Northlander carving up in the cage, and a quick heads up, his story opens with some pretty tough fight scenes.
It's brutal, it's bloody, it's MMA. Mixed martial arts is one of the fastest growing sports globally.
Knockout victory!
And fighters out of Aotearoa are some of the best in the business.
Kia ora, my name is Aaron Toe. I am a professional mixed martial artist.
There's a new Maori in the MMA scene. Aaron Toe is about to hit the big time.
My biggest goal is just to go up to the big leagues and show the world that I belong there. Just remind them where the greatest warriors on earth come from.
In the cage, Aaron's nickname is Toes'em Up, and with 7 wins and 0 losses, he's living up to that name.
The name Toes'em Up was like a New Zealand slang for, lack of a better word, giving someone a hiding.
Can he get him again?
The meaning behind it is like you do your job so well, they're flat on their back with their toes up in the sky, so toes them up, yeah. Home for me, I'm from the Hokianga, Te Tai Tokerau, in a place called Rahiri. But yeah, Hokianga hard. That was my playground as a kid. I used to ride horses and we had our own gardens and we hunted for our own meat. We lived off the land.
But family life was turbulent. When he turned 15, Aaron left home and moved to Brisbane.
I was playing league. I got into a Queensland Māoris team. My mentality was win and win at all costs, so I was real, aggressive.
It was his league coach who suggested he try MMA.
I just got pushed in the right direction. I'm pretty lucky.
Aaron's out, making his way to the cage.
He applied for MMA mentorship back in Aotearoa and returned in 2016.
He's won the Dan Hooker Scholarship.
I haven't looked back since.
Professional MMA fighter Dan the Hangman Hooker ran the mentorship program.
He was very impressive on the day. He was one of the 3 or 4 guys as the first mentorship winners, and yeah, I coached him from there.
Dan has played a pivotal role in Aaron's career over the last 6 years.
He turned professional, now he's 7-0, undefeated as a professional, and on the cusp of breaking into the UFC, so I'm just proud to be a part of that.
Aaron's found a home at City Kickboxing in Tāmaki Makaurau. It's the training ground for our best fighters.
The talent and knowledge at my gym is insane. What they've got down is the simple things. The turning up the training consistently, the eating right, the recovery, things that you wouldn't think are as important as they are. Fighting is a lot more than just the physical body, and it's a lot more than just being violent.
This is Aaron's well, this is what he wants.
I definitely used to use my aggression a lot to win fights, and now I only use my intellect. There's a chess game being played that most people can't even see. You got to approach and exit exchanges with your intellect, and if you don't do it like that, that is when you get hurt. If you just jump in there and you're just swinging your hands and your legs around, there's no honour, there's no mana in that, there's no mātauranga in that.
I have to have a healthy respect for the fighter to train them to their optimal. I have to respect them enough that I would form a friendship with them. I know their families.
Israel Adesanya has that thing.
Israel Adesanya's coach, Eugene Barryman, is now Aaron's coach. He sees Aaron's skills taking him to a higher level.
His abilities, they're both physical and mental. He's a very strong-minded individual. His determination to reach his goals, to have a one-track mind and that tunnel vision, that invariably comes with his upbringing and a lot to do with his culture. He's only a small human being, but for a small human being of that size, he's incredibly strong.
XFC Bantamweight Champion!
He is, in my opinion, the best bantamweight in Australasia and New Zealand. So he's the #1 bantamweight. He's developed into a very good fighter. Yeah, very good fighter.
Oh, picks it up and throws him!
In the next level, like the UFC, a minor mistake can cost you the fight. It can cost you a contract. It can cost you the last 10 years of sacrifice. So technique beats everything. Technique and consistency will make you a champion.
But Aaron knows that very few make it.
5% will make it to the top, maybe less. And that 5% to make some real decent money is probably the 1%.
And how confident are you?
I'm the 1% of the 1%, brother.
And it's that confidence that people often mistake for arrogance.
In our culture in New Zealand, no one wants you to keep your head high. No one wants you to walk around like you believe in yourself. I think that they just don't see everything before those moments. You doubting yourself, you working hard and getting beaten up. Months of you fighting every day. Am I good enough? Can I do this? You get broken down systematically and you have to build yourself back up. Finding your mana and holding on to it and believing that you're going to go to battle and you're going to bring those treasures of war back with you to your people. You've never seen the build-up, you've never seen the suffering, the blood, sweat and tears that got you to that moment. They think it's arrogance, but it's really just like, wow, I've done it. I doubted myself and I found the belief and I still stood even though I didn't think I could stand.
If Aaron does get his shot in the UFC, he'll be the first with a mataora.
That's going to be pretty cool, to take our culture onto a big stage. I have been wanting to get my mataora for a few years. I grew up in the pretty old ways, and those things that my grandparents gave to me, I want to pay them homage and pay my people homage when I do represent. I want people to know where I'm from.
It was only in March that Aaron got his mataora done.
Do you buzz out sometimes when you wake up in the morning and you see you've got your mataora?
The funny one is I walk around my house at night time and I walk past the mirror, oh, hey, get up mataora, you know. I forget. Doing a haka in Dunedin, that was definitely a highlight of my career. That was cool. Most of the world has seen the All Blacks and what they represent, and that is like just the edge of Te Ao Māori. They haven't seen the manaakitanga, the whanaungatanga. They haven't seen things at the marae, you know, the way that our culture exists. Ready? I do this to create a new pathway for young Māori like me where there was nowhere for someone like me to go. No one wanted to look after me or, you know, to teach me because I had this nature. Yeah, that's it. Finish the tackle. Oh. That's the idea. I'm trying to build a whare for the children of Tūmataonga so they have somewhere to come, so they don't feel like an outcast. They feel like they have somewhere to go and use that part of them. And now we have the avenue of making money and belonging in society with this ahua.
But definitely aggressive.
And Tao is such a physical fighter, but that was a fantastic thing. Tao's now got the neck.
What does your whānau think of you and your mate?
A lot of them didn't like it, especially because they just think of it as a violent sport. But they can see how much it means to me. They can see how hard I work at it, and they definitely respect that.
Keeping him grounded are his partner and tamariki.
They gave me all of my motivation, all of my purpose. I was a bit of a lost soul before they come around. I couldn't really look after myself. Now I got 3 kids and I've got a reason to wake up early.
At 29, Aaron has 4 XFC belts to his name.
The belts don't mean a lot to me. They mean a lot more to the people that I care about, kids who I'm from, my own kids, and teach them it's possible to attain those heights. But physically and mentally and emotionally, I don't really have a big attachment to them. I hit a goal and I look for the next.
The next goal is coming up and the pressure is on.
Most people that do quite well get into it in their early 20s. You want to try and hit the big leagues before you turn 30. Usually around 35 is the end of your career. So yeah, I've got about 5-6 years left to make $1 billion and hit the road.
Nei naha. Tēnā koe hoa, and our thanks to Alex Bradshaw from Fire for permission to use some of his video in D'Angelo's story. Toro kau wihoana he uri no manaia, he upoko kailangi tōranga pū, the mercurial leader of New Zealand First. After its 30th anniversary in the weekend, the Right Honourable Winston Peters is live in studio next. Ko te hui tēnei e wānanga nei I ngā take nui o te wā. It's believed he once described big city media commentators as, quote, smart aleck, arrogant, quiche-eating, Chardonnay drinking, pinky, finger-pointing, snobbery fart blossoms. Luckily, I don't eat quiche, nor do I drink Chardonnay. So joining me now in studio on the hui is the Right Honourable Winston Peters. E karawini tana tēnā koe.
Kia ora.
Thank you for your time. Hope you like the introduction. Let's start with your campaign slogan for this year's election. Let's take our country back. Who are we taking the country back from?
No, it's let's take back our country.
Okay, who are we taking the country back from then?
Because what's happened here, you've seen so many changes that were never mandated, never campaigned on, never part of the Labour Party or any other manifesto, but they're out there changing them secretly. The school curriculum, for example, in science, getting rid of all the physics and biology and going into woke, virtue signalling, sexual education and all those things. No parent was told that. And I can go to area after area, or for example, our health system. When every Maori who's sick wants to be health treatment now, no, they're changing the name, but they're not giving them the treatment.
Okay.
And some people are waiting months and months and sometimes 8 years.
A couple of things I want to pick up on there. First of all, woke. What does woke mean?
I woke up yesterday, I know more than you.
well, I've looked at the definition.
No, not me. That's them. They're not me. But I see people who they've all of a sudden they discovered something and they think that everybody else knows nothing at all.
Well, I looked for a definition of it from the Oxford Dictionary, and it says aware of social and political issues.
Precisely.
Like racism. Well, that means that people like you and Shane Jones are woke, aren't you?
No, with the greatest respect, doesn't mean that at all.
But you're aware of social and political issues, and you talk about racist policies.
But this is a description that you're reading as though that is the, how shall I say, the defined example of it. No, It's not. Many of us see woke as people who just discovered something yesterday, then all of a sudden are telling some of us who've been on the road working this battle in a mission in life to turn things around, that we've always been aware of it. For example, they suggest, for example, that we don't care about the environment. We don't care about the climate. Well, for some of us with a background that goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, That is an insult. Of course we care about the environment.
Okay, so it's a disparaging, almost pejorative word for people who think that some are too easily upset about these issues. And new to the game. So isn't your new candidate, Casey Costello, one of those? Because she talks on behalf of Hobson's Pledge about exactly the same kind of thing.
I know, she's setting out in authoritative form what it was all about in the Treaty of Waitangi on the 6th of February 1840. And as somebody that had great admiration from a very young age and studied the works and the books of the greatest Maori that there's ever been to Parliament, he got his law degree in 2 years flat, a Doctor of Literature, Master of Arts. This is way back in the start of the last century. And he set out in 1922 exactly what the circumstances are of the Treaty of Waitangi. I believe him and not amateur hour now.
Okay, all right. So, but I just want to talk about Hobson's Pledge because that's who Casey Costello has for a long time represented and has been a spokesperson for. The whole Hobson's Pledge bases itself upon the commentary of one person, Colenso, 50 years after the event, He iwi tahi tātou. What does that mean for you,
Well,
He iwi tahi tātou?
Well, I'm not here to speak for Hobson's Pledge other than say I'm delighted to have Casey Costello. This is someone who is the deputy, this #2 person in the police.
She's a candidate for your party.
Yes, that's right. I'm delighted she's joined our party because here's somebody with a similar background from, like me, part Ngāti Wai, from the northern family, very famous. You may not know this, but they were one of the best sporting families this country's ever seen. Their grandmother was New Zealand table tennis champion. Their sisters and all these people were fantastic name. I know the Davises. I went to school with some of them, you see, that's why. Now, my point is here, that comes from the same tribe as mine as well, same iwi, but the point is she's pointing out, as a senior former police person with quite a deal of experience, that these things that are being said by the tamaheres of this world and all these people trying to rewrite the Treaty of Waitangi, these 3 clauses, is just false. And I say so as well as a lawyer, and I said so the moment I saw this happening in 1987. The first lawyer that got up and said, hang on, if nobody in the British Commonwealth, or at the time, the British Empire and in UK, and all of those places of the UK, was in partnership with the Queen back on the 5th of February 1840, how come the Maori were, constitutionally speaking, 2 days later? And I don't want the Maori people to be sidelined on this issue, because I can tell you what I'm seeing here. The worst people who will suffer from this program of trying to rewrite the treaty business or the treaty history is Maori, and I see it. They're not getting the housing, they're not getting the jobs, they're not getting the health, and they're not getting the education.
Okay.
That's what I've been about all my life.
And you want to remove references to things like treaty principles. What are the treaty principles you want to remove?
Well, I love that question that you've asked. Can you possibly explain what they are? Because I've gone to universities, I've had all sorts of people.
No, I'm asking you.
Like Margaret Mutuana, because I don't believe there are any principles in the way they say they are. But
if you're trying to remove them and you don't know what they are...
That's been my challenge. They are teaching principles of the Treaty of Waitangi.
I'll tell you what they are then.
Let me tell you. They are teaching these principles at the Treaty of Waitangi at universities, and I've been here to challenge them and said to them, excuse me, how come the other universities got different principles?
OK, well, I'll tell you what they are then. Tino rangatiratanga, which is Article 2 of the treaty. So you want to remove one of the principles, which is in Article 2
Now, what do you think that means?
What do I think that means? You're the politician. You're the one that's put the hand up. You want to go back into Parliament. You want to remove the principle.
No. Your people knows what tino rangatiratanga means. You know what it means? The chief's word is gospel. Not everybody, just the chief. And if we had then at the time co-governance going on back in 1840, if we had co-governance going on then which chief's word was gospel if they differed? You see, it doesn't stack up.
Well, co-governance is a means to an end. The end is tino rangatiratanga.
No, the ends of this plan that these people prescribe is separatism and a separate vote.
Oh, it's
and
not.
2 systems.
You know it's not. See, this is the thing
it is. That's my point.
This is the thing that I actually don't get. I actually don't think you actually believe that. I really don't. Because
with respect.
But when you did ka awatea, tino rangatiratanga and rangatiratanga was referred to specifically in that document. It was also referred to a lot by one of the key authors of ka awatea, by Te Rangiho. So I actually don't think you believe
excuse me, I'm the minister that brought in ka awatea.
No, I know.
And you know what it meant?
What?
You know what the message of ka awatea was? We can make it with unity and blood, sweat and tears. That's the reason why we sold it. That's how we sold it. I know ka awatea. I was the author of it.
I know.
Right?
I know.
And all of a sudden you're telling me...
mentioned rangatiratanga, and one of the authors, after the release of ka awatea, spoke specifically about the aspiration to achieve tino rangatiratanga, which is one of the very principles that you talk about wanting to remove.
Look, I was there, you weren't. Let me tell you. No, You'll come to the wrong house, mate. I'll tell you something here. I got the Maori Queen and every Maori chief down because that's what tino rangatiratanga means. But you've got a whole lot of people asserting their tino rangatiratanga, and they've got no capacity for that at all. And I am seeing it everywhere. As they say, far too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
We're going to talk more about policy, particularly announced over the weekend at your conference. We'll have more from Winston Peters, the leader of New Zealand First, after the break. Tatu mai anō rā koutou ki tā tātou hui. We are back live with New Zealand First leader Winston Peters. When you started the party in '93, what were you trying to achieve and what's changed?
Look, I've been a member for a long time of the National Party, and I joined it for reasons that, for example, Sir James Henare told me he joined the National Party as well. And he said the critical reason was that the Labour Party had a rule 242, which was the party's conscience is your conscience. And he said no one believes in freedom could go down that path, and nor did I. So I remember the National Party, and I slogged it out on the campaigns on the way through. In 1990, I did 25 marginal seats in that massive victory we had. And then I saw the National Party throw its manifesto in the rubbish bin and bring out the secret agenda that none of us never even knew about. And then we headed down the same path, and we destroyed our people's belief in democracy. That's how we ended up with MMP. People were sick and tired of first past the post and parties not keeping their promise. Now, as you know, David Long is my testimony to this. He was hijacked by Roger Douglas, and he says so. They just threw their manifesto in rubbish bin as well.
Okay.
And we did it again. So I started, I was there, and I was there with a guy that was on the Dominion Council many years ago on the National Party with me, and we said, look, if we can't turn this party around, we're going to have to start a party, and that's what we did.
And you did, and you were also very successful in 1996, winning all the Maori seats. Why then is someone who, and the party that they lead, that was so successful in the Maori seats, now looking to abolish those seats?
Because I campaigned in 1996 in all the Maori seats on the basis we can turn our circumstances around. If we believe in these things, that it's going to be hard work and it's going to be a lot of tears and a lot of sacrifice, but if we focus on what Maori really need, that's affordable housing, on ready access to health treatment as fast as possible, and on education escalators to take our young as far as they want to go if they're prepared to make the work, and the last thing, first world wages. That's what I sought to focus on. But here I am acting in the National Party, and I had a group of Maori members with me who completely forgot that what they were there for.
But that's
how
before
we
96, Winston. In 96, you had a mandate from Māoridom to act and represent their voice in Parliament. Now, you lost that mandate in 99, but now you want to abolish the seats. Is this simply because the personal has become political?
No, because, you see, I was the person also, and I've been accused of it, that did more to bring about the arrival of MMP in this country. There's been books about it, accusing me of it. But I brought it about because I wanted people to have a far better voice than a government in which I was when only having 39% of the vote and yet governing the country.
But don't people get a better voice by having a Māori electorate seat?
No, I'm talking
particularly about Māori issues.
I'm trying to finish my answer.
Education.
It's complex. It's complicated, like the movie says. Here's my point, Mr. Wilcox. Look, when we brought in MMP and the Commission said so, in time it'll prove to the Maori people that there will be no need for separate seats. Look, I was only one of four over since 1867. No, since 1867. Only one of four Maori to ever get a general seat. Right? Now, So we're going into this election in 1996, and the Commission had said, MMP will prove in time that there is no need for a separate franchise. And it has. There are 28% sometimes of Parliament now with Maori in them.
But the needs and issues of Māori still exist. I mean, we're talking about
Well, of course
them now.
they will exist.
So how can you get rid of the Māori seats when those issues haven't been addressed and there aren't equitable outcomes, which has led to things like
Well, I'll tell you why. Because the Maori seats will not deliver them. But the rest of us can, and we
they'll
will.
deliver the voice and the mandate for the people to be able to act on their and represent their interests to be able to deliver.
Well, can I ask you a few things? And I'll point to Maori members of Parliament. You tell me what they've delivered to the Maori people. Because I know I've delivered a stack for the Maori people. Twice in my career, I've seen wages rise dramatically.
Okay.
Twice in my career, I've found serious increases in health budget. Twice in my career, I've looked after the aged in this world. And now twice in my career, I've been out in terms of education and brought about the biggest university intake for Maori ever in this country's history.
I want to talk about
And I can keep on talking for the next day about this on your program. And I hope one day you get me back so you people will know that those who do things and those who just talk.
I do want to talk about one of the other things that you want to deliver. You talked about a gang prison and to designate all gangs as terrorist organisations. Yeah. Given the amount of Māori who are in gangs, given the amount of Māori who are already in the correction system, why would you want to set up a location that would be a recipe for extreme violence and a threat, actually, to people who would end up working in corrections when most of them, again, will be us?
What do you think's going on now? Excuse me. I've been to prisons for as a young lawyer and since that time as well. What on earth do you think's going on now? It's happening now, but a whole lot of people who are not part of the gangs are being recruited in there. And I know that every time this happens, there's a certain people in this country, a certain ethnic group, who are shamed every night on 6 o'clock news. That's the Maori people, and I want an end to it.
This sounds like it's going to be a gang gitmo. And the US experience shows us that's a massive mistake.
Can you not get a fix on this? That's what's happening now. We don't need to build a new prison. No. See, you come on, you've already made up your mind. This is an interview where you're going to find out facts. And here, let me tell you the fact here. Okay. We don't need a new prison at all. We just need to give the prison officers far more support, far greater reason for having good morale, and give them better wages and have more of them. We don't need to build a new prison. But I'll tell you what the result of my policies will be. You'll see a dramatic decline in prisons the real way, because I've also said that if you don't want to go down that pathway, we're going to find you a 40-hour-week job. We're going to pay you properly. But that's the corollary. Take that choice or go down the narrow path. And I know out in the Maori world there are mothers and fathers who want that course rather than what we're seeing now. Perpetually getting worse and worse with no solutions and all this sort of woke nonsense about the conditions. I'm from a Maori place. I'm from a Maori school. And I can tell you now, we had everybody employed in all our neighbourhood.
I have to leave it there. You can see that, by the way. I'm shuffling my papers. Thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate you coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Wish you the best for the election campaign and hope we get to talk to you again very soon. Hey, te wiki, e tu mai nei e ngai iwi, coming up next week on The Hui.
There's no intimacy and it definitely doesn't feel like our culture.
Funeral homes are no longer the only option after a mate.
I found there was a whole other way that we could do tūpapaku death care.
Traditional Māori ways of caring for tūpapaku are being revived in the Bay of Plenty.
This process for me is really healing. Using a shroud on tūpapaku is always a real honour.
It's very important to, keep your weave tight so that your tūpapaku don't fall out.
Helping ease the financial burden of funeral costs.
It can be up to 10,000 each, and, within a year. That's a lot of money for whānau here.
And empowering whānau.
We can do this ourselves.
Looking forward to next week's show. That's us for this week. You'll find all our stories on our Facebook, Twitter and YouTube accounts or at newshub.co.nz. Until next week, e ngai iwi, kia mau, ki te tūranga o taputapu a te haumi e, hui e, taiki e. nā te puna whakatongarewa, te hui i tautoko.